Well, gang, mixed results from my weekend. I had Navy and the over. I blame Admiral Stav for that. That didn't work out so well. Yeah, there it is. I mean, for those there, you're seeing it. I mean, I put it out there, TC. I put it right out there.
25 large. I'm looking at it. 25 large.
So then I had Detroit at Chicago. I couldn't understand that line, but they knew more than I did because the Bears ruined that for me. And now I'm embarrassed being here and having to tell you that what redeemed my weekend, Dallas.
You can't hold your head high. You cannot. I'm sorry. You cannot.
Well, I wanted Philadelphia to win. I just, didn't want the points to fall the way.
As our YouTube family knows, I will say, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. Anyway, but man, I must say I was watching and following, and it's fun. It's fun. For me, it's fun. Bet parks. This is insane. What a crazy time of year. There are 2 Monday night pro football games. Green Bay is a 6-point road favorite at the Meadowlands against Big Blue. Miami, a 14-point home favorite hosting Tennessee. And then, are you ready for it? There are 3 pro football games on Saturday. Like, this is insane. The BetPark Sportsbook, the only sports betting app that I use myself and that I recommend. It's safe, secure, it's easy to use. Let me just see what the line is on Philly. Do we know what the line is on Philly yet? I think we do. 12-point home favorite hosting Washington. I have to think about that. 12-point home favorite hosting Washington. Oh, that's Pro Hoops tonight. I'm getting all screwed up. Yeah, basketball too. Get involved in everything. Have some fun. Sit in the doctor's waiting room and play blackjack, okay? Do this constantly. That is what I do. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Got to be 21 and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Better luck for me next weekend, I'm sure. Okay, headlines from the Monday edition of the newsletter. TC, our old friend, producer Greg Stocker.
Who we love.
Wonderful guy.
Yes.
Just a wonderful guy, and we miss him. We love Dan. But he was the pre-Dan producer of our show before we came to SiriusXM.
Right. And usually this was not like a move up or down, or this was a lateral move. So, and we are in touch with Greg and love him. And by the way, Dan and Greg would get along.
No doubt.
It's all, yeah.
They're both good souls.
Wonderful. Yeah. We got lucky.
So I'm bringing up Greg because I'm giving him a hat tip, as he's the one who put in my text bin, you got to listen to this interview.
He's still producing.
Right. And
even though he's the big Mahaff.
What he wanted me to listen to was a Moby podcast with Hunter Biden. By the way, I went through a Moby phase in the late 90s.
Wait a minute. I think you've talked about this before, because I have a recollection of you, in one of your eclectic music taste conversations, he was in the mix.
Well, Moby had an, I'll still say album, I don't know what else to say, in the late 90s called Play. I think I have the order right. The Play was then followed by Hotel. I got into both of those. Now, here's the scary part.
Uh-oh.
I think with Liberal Paul, but I'm not sure, that I went to see Moby at the Electric Factory, and I don't even know.
Wait a minute. Do you know you saw Moby at the Electric Factory, or you're not sure with whom you went?
No. The only person who would go with me would be Paul.
Okay, there you go.
I'm 92% sure.
Wait, how could you not know?
I know.
Oh,
that's scary.
Were you?
No.
You weren't?
No.
Oh.
No. Frightening, isn't it?
Very.
Anyway, I have some familiarity with Moby. He's like a electronic music wizard, and I like this stuff. I think he's very talented, very smart guy. Apparently, he met Hunter Biden in addiction treatment.
Yeah,
befriended one another, get along well. Moby has a podcast. He hosts Hunter. And it was part 1 that has so far been released. It was like an hour long. I listened to the whole thing. I found it really remarkable, really illuminating, because the only time that I've seen Hunter speak, I think it was an ABC interview when his memoir, Beautiful Things, came out.
I can picture them sitting across from one another, the interviewer.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't hear much from him. You don't hear him defend himself. But in this sit down with Moby, he walks you through what it's like to be Hunter Biden, so close to a plea agreement, and then the focus of so much conservative media attention. I pulled 2 clips for you to hear just what he had to say. Here's the first.
One of the reasons why I'm going to survive this, and I'm going to survive it clean and sober, is because I am not going to let these motherfuckers, okay, use me as just another example of why people in recovery are never going to be okay, never to be trusted. They're all degenerates. I'm just not going to let that happen. I'm just not going to let it happen.
TC, I said, I did a commentary opening up my CNN program on Saturday. What's a father to do? What's a father to do? And I walked through, the whole history of Hunter from the perspective of Joe, and I raised the question of whether ultimately, notwithstanding what the White House says, will he be afforded a pardon? Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine a situation where Joe Biden would ever allow his son, his surviving son, Hunter, to go to prison when in the power of his pen, he can prevent that from happening.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And people had fits that you were talking about it and led your program with it on Saturday. Why aren't you talking about Trump? What about, a lot of whataboutism and a lot of this is a private citizen. It doesn't matter. But that's not the angle you were discussing Joe, and it does matter.
Right.
So,
and I was also, relative to Hunter, I believe this. I believe that Hunter was about to get a sweetheart deal in his plea agreement in Delaware because of his name. And now it's the exact opposite, that he's going to have the book thrown at him. And that's not right either because of his name. Yeah. Okay, so you heard the MFer line. There's one other part, and listen to what he says in terms of the motivation of those who are fixated on him.
In their most illegitimate way, but rational way, they're trying to destroy a presidency. And so it's not about me. In their most base way, what they're trying to do is they're trying to kill me, knowing that it will be a pain greater than my father could be able to handle. And so therefore destroying a presidency in that way.
That's what he thinks. He thinks that that the opponents of his father are out to kill him because that would take, God forbid, because that would take Joe out of the race. Very interesting interview, and I'm going to listen to part 2, even if I can't remember for sure that I saw Moby live in concert at the Electric Factory not too long ago. There were great headlines. I'm so proud of them. I spent so much time identifying them and putting them in the newsletter over the weekend. You can, via our website, we have everything archived. So if you missed, the Saturday episode of the new issue of the newsletter, as I'm referencing it, if you're intrigued, you can easily find it. Yeah,
I have a lot of friends that listen on demand. And so sometimes they're a day, maybe 2 days behind, but they always catch up. And they use that feature a lot because things that you talk about on the program are often at Smerconish.com. And then they can go back and read the whole article or send it to friends.
Good. Here's an example. On Saturday from Substack, Ken White, who was a criminal defense attorney and civil litigator in Los Angeles, wrote a piece under the headline, "Stop Demanding Dumb Answers to Hard Questions." And it's all about him saying that the university professors, as I've been saying, were tone deaf, presented themselves poorly, but on the merits were actually accurate in what they said, which ties into today's poll question as to whether Liz McGill should have been drummed out at Penn. Quote, "If you think the question is calling for the genocide of a group against your policy is an easy question with a one-word answer, you're wrong. I understand you want the answer to be easy, but that's not the same thing as it being easy." Go read that. Something else, TC, from Saturday. New Jersey man formerly sentenced to 8 years in prison for his racist taunting of his neighbors. Did you get a look at that guy in that story?
It's disgusting. I don't know what was going on there, but I think I think justice had to be served in that way.
He pled guilty to 4 counts of bias intimidation. And when he came out at one of the hearings and so forth, all the neighbors were gathered around to taunt him.
Wow.
But some really sick stuff.
Sick.
Okay. Also on a sort of racial, if not racist, theme from the LA Times, I had this over the weekend. Coolio style hair controversy in LA. The deal here is that a board member of the Los Angeles Police Protective League wrote a piece saying that while making the rounds at police stations around the city during a recent contract negotiation, he noticed numerous officers with beards or the quote-unquote craziest hairstyles that didn't adhere to the department's on-grooming standards. Singled out were some cops of color, men who had beards. I wasn't fully in the loop on this. Pseudofolliculitis barbae, or PFB, is a skin condition that disproportionately affects black men, causing blemishes and acne-like bumps that can scar or bleed.
Hey, good job pronouncing that.
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Would you know if I was wrong?
Follicular. I like it.
And consequently, they grow beards.
It's hard to shave. It's painful and hard to shave, and you're left with blood and bumps, and I completely understand that.
Also, from the Saturday edition of the newsletter, were you a Monk fan?
I was not.
No. Oh my God!
I know.
We love it in our house.
I know you do. You've talked about it many times.
We love Monk. Tony Shalhoub.
I like him.
Plays an OCD afflicted detective.
Oh, well,
and
wow.
It's so great.
Right.
And what a surprise that I like it.
Wow. Hello. I'm looking in the mirror.
I also love Natalie, his assistant, who, by the way, it's kind of like Darren in Bewitched. She's actually the second Natalie, and I love the first Natalie too.
What do you mean she's the second Natalie?
You know how like they did it was on for I don't know 10 years or something. I don't know how long it was on, but they switched one of the characters
in the actual series,
yeah.
Not the movie.
In the series, series, yeah. So you know that Bewitched, you know that Elizabeth Montgomery, Samantha had two husbands.
The one where she blinks.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Oh Jesus, you don't even know that.
No.
Okay. Anyway, now it's a movie.
Okay.
Monk is now
That's
a
the bottom
movie.
line.
The old cast is back together. Ted Levine plays a boss of Adrian Monk in the TV series, and you know him because he was either Buffalo Bob or Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. Do you remember?
No.
Yeah.
It puts the lotion in the basket.
And like he's looking down.
It puts the lotion in the basket.
Yeah. So you can't imagine, like you'll watch Monk, the TV show.
I can't watch it.
And you'll be like, I know this guy.
Can't watch it.
And then it'll hit you.
Is he a good guy in this?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. He's good. He's funny. And it's a total.
Oh, I would completely freak out at that.
The Sunday newsletter had a great piece from Poynter based on reporting from the Medill Journalism School that 83% of the counties in the nation that either have no news source, meaning a local source of their own, 83% of them voted for Donald Trump in 2020. I must circle back to that.
Yes.
Because there's a question there of whether being underserved by a media outlet or outlets impacts your perception of the world, which seems to make sense to me.
Yes.
Okay, what else caught my eye over the weekend? Oh my gosh.
Oh,
yeah.
Caught my eye too. I was fascinated by this.
So you remember we talked about the candidate in Virginia who was running for the House of Delegates, and her online sex life was exposed. She did an interview.
Susanna Gibson.
Why not with me?
Why not with you?
Why Politico?
We asked her for here. We asked her for
gosh,
CNN.
I would have treated her.
Maybe they just were like hit her just at the right time.
I would have treated her with dignity and respect. There were so many interesting aspects of this. How about this, TC? When she hears from like her media people,
there's no way.
Go ahead,
that
you
is
explain
true.
it. You
There
explain
is
it.
no way.
Go ahead. It must have caught both of our eyes.
Evidently, the media manager got a hold of her and said, "There's a Washington Post.
It's personal.
It's personal. There's a Washington Post reporter who is like hesitant to bring something up to me because it's personal, and you're a mother." It sounded like it was like, "Oh God, I've really got something." And Susanna Gibson says she did not know what it could be.
What could that be? Would it be the streaming of sex with my husband? No, I can't imagine it would be that. Why would anybody be interested in that?
That cannot, or I mean, what her premise is that this was done not for money. This was like sort of like a sort of a fun thing, but was never meant to be public. I mean, that's probably obvious, but she literally didn't know. She says that that's what they were talking about.
Also, she's asked, what do you draw from the fact that the race was close? And she said, I draw from that voters didn't care. The Republican Party in Virginia never would have sent those mailers if they didn't know I was going to win, or certainly could win.
Wow.
So there was that. And then one more from the weekend. If you saw May, December, a movie that I have seen and highly recommend, you might all of a sudden be interested in, what was the story about Mary Kay Letourneau? Like, what's the real story?
And by the way, I forgot, this is terrible. I forgot she had died.
Yeah, she died.
I totally forgot
died.
that.
Yep.
Wow, colon cancer.
They had divorced. They had filed for divorce.
Yeah, they had filed for divorce, but they were all the children, the girls, and he was at her side when she died.
But if you're interested in, like, like me, I come out of that movie theater and I want to know, like, what's the real story?
Yeah.
What's the real story?
Of course.
Okay. More headlines from the daily newsletter. We talked about Mary Kay Letourneau.
Right.
One of those stories like, hey, what happened there? How about JonBenet Ramsey?
How about that?
A new handwriting analysis that Patsy Ramsey is gone.
Right.
Like Mary Kay
Cancer.
Letourneau, also, gone from cancer. And he maintains that it's a known pedophile who's currently behind doors, and he says behind bars, and he says that his wife was exonerated in this most recent handwriting analysis.
Well, because there was a letter, and the letter was found, he was immediately exonerated. It was not his handwriting, but they couldn't exonerate Patsy. That's how they said it. It's a percentage thing.
TC, remember this? Grow a brain, John.
Yeah.
Grow a brain, John.
Yeah.
And everybody thought it had to be one or the other of them.
Right.
And she was finally, I think it was the Boulder County law enforcement folks, they exonerated her. I'm doing this from memory. I know it's in the story. After she was gone. Right. I remember the fact that posthumously, like she wasn't alive to hear that they finally said, okay, it wasn't you.
Right, because there was DNA that they couldn't identify on JonBenet's body.
Right. Okay, one more. Did you watch last night the Eagles game at Dallas?
I did watch until I fell asleep.
Okay, you'd know if this came on while you were awake.
It did not.
Oh my God.
Did you cry?
Yes.
I mean, I've seen it now, and it breaks my heart. It's visual, so I don't have it, but you describe it.
Okay. There was a commercial in the midst of I'm trying to think of how late did I stay up. I watched through halftime. I don't know if I watched into the third quarter. So I'm going to say it was late in the second quarter.
I might have been dozing.
Okay, I want to say...
Me. Just don't judge me.
I won't. I can't remember I went to a Moby concert. So who am I to judge?
Well, that was just last night.
It's Sunday Night Football, and it's the Eagles, and it's Dallas, and there's a lot of interest in the game, and the commercials are routine, not Super Bowl level. And a Chevy commercial comes on about a woman with Alzheimer's, and her husband is alive. They're older. Her daughter is there, and they're trying to jog her memory. They take her out into the old Chevy. I think they put in a cassette deck and drive her around. I'm honest to God, I'm emotional just even thinking about it.
Yeah.
It just had such a sudden and overwhelming impact on me.
The article that you pulled and put.
Well, I went looking for information.
Yes, and that article said it is. I believe their words were stunning. Get ready to grab the tissues because Chevrolet has just unleashed the tearjerker of the holiday season straight from the heart of Michigan in a stunning cinematic masterpiece.
Yep.
Chevrolet's latest commercial isn't just tugging at heartstrings, it's pulling them with a force of 1,000 holiday emotions.
Holly, Michigan.
Yep.
Holly, Michigan is where it was filmed.
Not your typical advertisement, but an emotional storytelling marvel that captures the essence of love, family, and the true meaning of the holidays.
I'm telling you, you got to see. I'm going to ask Alice to put it on Facebook.
Okay.
To put this commercial, Alice, if you're watching and listening, put it on my Facebook page. I want people to see it. It just cut me to the quick.
Wow.
Cut me to the quick unexpectedly.
Yeah.
I'm watching the game and thinking about the line and whether I'm going to cover, and instead this thing just takes my breath away. There's a story from Boston. I don't have enough time to discuss it now, but it's about the death of a cop in a Beantown suburb. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable story. Split the town, and anybody who has watched it. Bottom line is, he's found outside under the snow, and the question is, was there a fight in the house and someone threw him outside to die, or did his girlfriend hit him with the car when she did a 3-point turn to back up and leave him there?
Okay.
Which one?
Wouldn't you think at this cop party, it's like a cop kegger, that they'd know if he ever was in the house.
Yes.
Because he either was in the house
or not in the
never
house.
made it into the house
One or
because
the
she
other.
ran him over.
Well,
because they were apparently they were hammered.
Hammered.
She, like the record of her
9 drinks. They had her on video. Yeah, 9.
So just a bizarre story.
Yeah.
But that too, the news that I'm really proud of the selection. I mean, I can only work with the news cycle that I get, but the news cycle has been pretty incredible recently. I talked enough about Stefanik.
We got to go.
Yeah, we got to go.
Okay.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.